Alright, busan for men chat you be and some more be aqua baby men fan by and cassette TV and cassette TV the update any trending news on quantity this way viewers and for message say any day they can tell me message say yeah share video mo be on sanka video and sanka no mu de cause for my Ghana mo say it is almost so who de ko na like na for adwin chess go comment section e be hwini akinkan bibia mama na update am dey go dey busan for me ho adwin mi pa enya asem bi to a say Ghana ha say there enyoma ekoso de asefem pa mpanyimfo no de kyese Ghana di agoro abusuafo enya asenkutu meso so beka me ho ne yakwakuti ensani mu nkyeremu ye pa eba beto aso me de obibi ase.
This particular matter in particular, the first time I reviewed the documents personally, when the copies were made for us to have a look at it by the Attorney General and to have a conference to discuss the details, I actually cringed. I couldn't believe it. The facts were like they were concocted, to be very honest with you. The facts were like they were concocted. Because this was not just stealing, but as to borrow a word from Dog, naked thievery. You know, in one of the charges, something, do you know what happened? The boss of Maslock decided to give a loan to a rural bank. And they did not even reach any agreement. Yet the money was transferred to the rural bank. When the money got to the account of the rural bank, the people then asked, okay, so what is the interest rate of the money you have sent to us? Imagine something that you should have done earlier was not even done. Then the interest rate was then quoted by Sedina. When the interest rate was quoted, the rural bank management said, look, the interest rate you have quoted, if we pick this money, we cannot make any money out of it, so we want to return it to you. What do? Good corporate practice. You write to them and give your account, Maslock account. Then they pay the money directly into the account and produce receipt for accountability purposes. You know what she said? She directed them to cash the money and bring it to Accra. And then they cashed the money in a Ghana must go, carried it to Accra. They met at Bachona filling station, Total filling station, and the money was packed into her boot and she drove away. And that ended it. She's been convicted of that particular charge. Yeah.
So
then the second one.
Yes.
I'm giving you, I'm just itemizing them because I have the facts. I don't need to even read anything.
Yeah.
The second one, they were supposed to do some nationwide sensitization workshops for some category of persons with respect to matters like this. The money was about 2 million Ghana cedis. Less than 5% was used for the intended purpose. The rest was shared. As if it was ground nuts. Look, there was a fire disaster in one of the markets. Some money was allocated to help the victims. Just a little percentage of it was used. The rest, they shared it. There were some phones they had to buy. One on the market, 100 cedis. The prices they quoted, 400 each. Clearly, some vehicles were procured. In fact, those vehicles even delayed the trial because we had finished all the charges and then we bumped on a report which indicated that vehicles had been bought, some of them at thrice the market price. Some at thrice the market price. Some at twice the market price. We had to amend our charges to include all these. And remember that they were found guilty of over 70 charges. All of them.
78.
Yes. In fact, it is one of the most nauseating cases I have come across in legal prosecution. Because the act of impunity, naked thievery and robbery perpetuated by them was frightening. And you see, when the judgment was read, I posted something on my social media handle. I indicated that it was not a moment for anybody to celebrate. It was not a moment for anybody to be joyous, but for us all to have a sober reflection.
In fact, Tua Yeboah has been saying, all those in office now, take a cue.
That's what I'm just coming to say. You see, you have to be very, very careful. Day of accountability will come. And when it comes, you will be in that dock alone. And the wheels of justice may grind slowly, but in the end, when the pronouncement is made and you are taken away to Insawam, you would come to the realization that acts of impunity cannot go unpunished and go forever. Something, just to conclude on this, if you look at the acts, and if you look at the conduct of even the principal person, which even made Justice Efiesewa very angry. I mean, that the state didn't take enough steps or action to be able to have her in Ghana to face trial. Because clearly whatever she did it in order to evade conviction. That was why they had to try her in absentia in line with the constitutional principle and dictate. But I'm saying this again, that those in office now ought to take a clue from this. And this is the third time, and all those cases passed through my hand anyway, as Deputy Attorney General in charge of criminal prosecution. This is the third case of a very nauseating nature. The first one was NCA. At a point in time, some monies was shared like groundnuts, and they secured conviction. Then this one. And the third one, you remember, venture capital. You remember venture capital? In that particular case, they had to take advantage of Section 35 of the Courts Act. And then they did a plea bargain. They were convicted, and then they went ahead to pay. If you look at a combination of these cases and the convictions that have been secured, and then at least the amounts of money involved and etc., a lot would have been saved to this nation. But as I have stated time and again, those in office now ought to take a clue from this. And I thank my brother Tia Yebua for the statement he has made. They have to take a cue. Because it is very, very, very juicy.
Initially, the court,
dip your hand in there and fetch.
Initially, the court, there were people who were very critical about the court, that it was not being sympathetic, she was not well, she needed bail to be able, she needed the opportunity to travel, take care of herself. And this was like a media trial. And eventually the court had to succumb and say, well, go and take care of yourself and come. And she goes, she doesn't come.
She doesn't come.
The question Ghanaians are asking now is this judgment as empty as the paper?
Well, something, remember that even at the initial stages, I thought that there was going to be another step that would have been taken, an international collaboration to get her brought back for face justice.
We're told
but if you try that, most of the countries up there, they will think there is political persecution, and so they will not allow it. They will even extradite the person. But now that we have secured conviction, the person is a convict, and you have to come and serve your sentence. So what they now need to do is to collaborate with the U.S. authorities and the anti-corruption agencies there to ensure that the person is extradited to come and serve the terms. But something, I said this in London, and I want to say it today. Sometimes out there, when we go, we are so much better. We went for economic crimes conference in Jesus College in the UK.
Be very brief about that.
And it was some kind of unanimous thing by our friends from the West that we are just a group of criminals up here. And I stood up there and I made a very forceful point. And I talked about the fact that sometimes millions of dollars from Africa, we cut it to those countries. They receive the money. They know very well that we are incapable of getting such monies. They receive it there and later on freeze those accounts and make it their own property. Perhaps some of them are more criminal even than those that are accusing them.
Right.
So I am just in conclusion saying that what the fate of Sedina Tamaklo and other persons be a guide to all public office holders, that one day accountability will knock on your door.
Right. Thank you very much.
Crime.
And thanks to Martin Pebu, Alex Mould is not in jail. He would have been in jail.
Yes, but for Martin Pebu,
he's too surety, and then she escaped.
Probably there was some advice. She said, okay, if I go now, the consequences that the civil process will be taken.
Thanks to the case that Martin Pebu mounted, that a person who stands surety should not be put in prison, but rather their property should be chased to liquidate the bail sum. I was trying to put the monies together, and I went to each count. Count one, stealing. That is the 28th of August, 2014, 500,000. She stole the money. Count two, stealing. 13th April, 2016, 84,000. She stole it. Count three, stealing. 21st of April, 2016, 73,500. Count four, stealing. 1st June, 2016, 126,000. Count five, conspiracy to steal, stealing.